right, everybody, here we are for another special episode. We are joined by Chrissie Wunna once again. Chrissie, tell the people who you are, where they can find you.
I am Chrissie Wunna, and you can find me at Chrissie Wunna on every single piece of social media.
That certainly makes it easy. And Chrissie is everywhere on Twitter. It's all I see in my feed now is Chrissie with some black boxes. Your new show, of course.
Yeah, it's a big thing here in the UK. I've not done a whole show with no clothes on. I had socks on though, so that's all right.
That's cheating. I didn't realize this is a sham.
It was a big scam. Yeah. Awesome.
How could you let the charity kids down?
I know. But my feet were cold. The rest of me was fine.
my feet were cold. I had black bars everywhere else. We were fine. Yeah.
Those black bars keep you very warm, I hear. So
they do. They do. And they keep me out of trouble, don't they?
So last time you were on, we talked about Cool as Ice. Today I have an equally odd movie for us to watch and talk, or for us to talk about. We've already watched it, thank God. Jacob Tutu and the Hooded Fang, 1999.
Jacob Tutu, pretty much the same as me or you. You probably wouldn't guess his life was such a mess.
Had you seen it before?
No, I'd never even heard of it. So I was like, is this like an American thing? Is this what they've been watching when they grow up or something? Like,
is this what all American kids watch?
I don't know. Lee, had you ever seen this before?
I had seen the box in the video store, and I was told, I was like, oh, it's Gary Busey. And someone was like, it's for kids. It's bad. Don't watch it. And I'm like, got it. And I never watched it or thought about it again.
I have seen this so many times, never as a child, mind. This was something I would put on in the video store and just to annoy whoever I was working with, this would play. And
a torture device.
I like it though. I think it's fun. I think there's good stuff we're going to talk about. But yes, it is not everyone's cup of tea. It is some weird stuff. You got Ice-T, you got Gary Busey in this weird, fantastical kids movie. Need I say more? So non-spoilers, Chrissie, what did you think about it?
Well, I like a lot of stuff, and I thought it was very weird. But I warmed up to it in the end. It was all right. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So it's just so weird. I was like, what is going on? But I just thought it was like what you'd all been watching growing up. So I don't know.
No, yeah, without that, I don't know.
I pulled this one out of the woodworks just for you because you like Cool as Ice so much. And that is not your normal like person's go-to movie. And since you love that so much, I'm like, let me pull something even weirder off the shelf. And that's how you ended up here.
Really
Lee, what were your non-spoiler thoughts about this one?
No, I went in with very low expectations, obviously, but I kind of liked it. I thought it was kind of good. Like, it's obviously for kids, but I always do that math where I'm like, would I like approve of this? Like its message and like its content and how weird it gets with it and stuff. And like, yeah, I think that this is actually like pretty good. It's like not hard to watch. It isn't like torture or anything. And some parts are so weird that they're a lot of fun.
I give this 2 thumbs up. I think if you haven't seen it, it's so crazy you should watch it. It's not this great movie, but it's a great experience. I'll say that much. There are songs that get caught in my head. They're so dumb. They're catchy. They're just with the actors that are in this, and the sets are really what gets me. That I think it has amazing set pieces that you don't see nowadays. So without any further ado, let's jump into the spoilers and ruin it.
If you need a place to rent content, you better listen. We're Cannibal Video and we eat the competition.
So now that we are firmly in the spoiler zone, Chrissie, I'll let you start. So what are your deep-seated thoughts here? What would you say is the best, the worst? What'd you like? What'd you hate?
Well, it started off and it was like, had this like cool sort of kids rap vibe to it, didn't it? Like the opening titles coming on. So it warmed me up.
Just because his little Jacob Tutu is found, no one hears a word he says the first time around.
I really loved all that. And then all of a sudden we're just shot into their world, which is like kind of like my worst ever world, just nagging kids everywhere.
You need to get in to get ready. Come on, Tutu. You snooze, you lose. Noah, don't you dare. Noah, you get
like hustle and bustle. It's like a mum's worst nightmare. So it was just an awful start for me. I was like, oh no. And then he needs a wee or something and he goes for a really long wee. And I was just like, what is going on?
That's true, yeah.
That's that setting those characters up for you. You're like, okay, this kid's got a big bladder. We got it.
Much like Cool as Ice, it starts with a musical number, but just over credits, right? It's more understated. And then much like Cool as Ice, you're thrown in, into this scenario where you're like, oh no, I've been tricked into watching a boring, horrible movie. It's just Malcolm in the Middle, but like worse people. And you're like, oh no, like what is this? You have no idea at that point what's in store for you, or where like where it's going, right?
And I would say that you couldn't possibly guess.
It takes like 20 minutes to really like kick in, but then once it kicks in, it's like,
It does, like, you never know, you don't know what's going on, because it's just like, oh, someone's house and they're all just having breakfast and moaning all the time and you can't pour his milk. So I'm like, what is going on? Like, I was just like, this is just like watching someone's really rubbish life. But then there was cool bits in it, like when he's, he goes to get those tomatoes. He wants to go buy them.
For no force on earth can stop a boy who knows exactly what to say.
I'm going to get 2 firm red tomatoes.
And then there's that walking commentary. I liked those bits. The weird
That is fantastic. I love that, especially when he gets to the part like, he must get 2 firm red tomatoes, or his family will starve to death, or whatever it says.
Yeah.
2 firm red tomatoes. Why, without him, the whole family died of hunger.
I'm like, yeah, get him. That narrator is fantastic, and we don't get enough of him. Like, halfway through the movie, there's like a tonal shift, and not just when he goes into this fantastical mystical world. Beyond that point, like I'd say, like, what is this, like an hour and a half or so? Like at the 40, 50 minute mark, there's like a change, and you don't have narrators anymore, and there's not fun things, and there's not like the goofy songs anymore.
They'll be counting scary dreams instead of sheep. Oh, it's a treat to be a creep.
Like, that's a lot of the charm for me, is these stupid characters and their songs. But all in all, you get sets, like once you go into fantasy world. Which did they say the name of this world? I forget.
Yes, Slimer's was it called Slimer?
Well, Slimer's Island, yeah. But
that's
like
the name of the prison.
Like,
yeah, I don't know.
So just to be clear, like this is like Alice in Wonderland or the Wizard of Oz or something.
Wizard of Oz, I think, is a better correlation.
Because like because Wizard of Oz, like all the people that he was seeing and his like his like siblings and everybody, they like other kids, they all play different characters in this fantasy world. Yes. He goes and meets them all, and they're all exaggerated versions of what they were in real life and all this stuff.
Now, I'm Mr. Fish, and this is my colleague, Miss Fowl.
I'm the cute one.
Like, yes, so he is.
Yeah, we jumped over it. He hits his head on a
Wonderland.
salami and wakes up in Wonderland.
Whatever. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Oh,
like,
that long thing. Yeah, I remember that. And there's all the people. That was that guy who sniffs fish.
Is this fish fresh? They don't smell fresh, and they feel mushy.
He's like that fish man in the world. I get it. Yeah, I remember now.
That fish guy in the real world is almost more bizarre than the part fish man in the fake world. Everybody's just grabbing every fish. This fish is.
But this red eye looks quite pale.
It's a little pink. This one's a little gray. He's like holding him around. And the guy, what is that guy's name? It's like Maury something or something Maury. The guy that plays
the other guy?
Yeah, Loser.
The name is Loser.
I don't know his name. I was gonna say Mr. Fish is a Kids in the Hall guy, Mark McKinney, who's great and everything, and he does his thing. Who's Mr. Loser.
That guy is great. He's a real character actor. You've seen him 1,000 times. And I think he nails that kind of character so well.
Yeah.
They were all really good. And then at first you're just figuring out what's going on, and he sees the hooded Fang on the bus. So it's like stuff is going on, and then it's when he hits his head, because he's about to get arrested for just asking for tomatoes.
Didn't do anything.
He's one tough customer, this kid, huh?
All I did was ask for 2 tomatoes.
Well, they're joshing him. They're playing a little game.
Right.
There's like that the Loser guy, when he's the shopkeeper, does that thing where like he winks and sticks his tongue out in the opposite angle, and I am unable to do that. I'm like it doesn't work the same way. I'm like, it must be an old Italian guy thing.
I demand justice, officer. Well, it looks like I may have to write this one up.
I thought it was Greek. Is he Italian or Greek?
I don't know.
I got a Greek vibe from him. No, like yeah, he's they're like messing with them, but I as a kid was also like slightly autistic or something, so I would have also been terrified and like run for like my life and would have ended up having an adventure not unlike Mr. Tutu here. So I can relate to this movie on like a very deep level.
And it was good. As soon as he like got knocked out, then the magic began and the whole thing kicked in. And it was wonderful. Like this, how he wakes up in this fantasy land, which is for like, even for me, an adult, it seemed really cool. Like, I really liked it. I would want to go there.
I love it. And I didn't know until this watch, because I hopped on IMDb to check and see if someone was who I thought they were. And I was like, oh, this is a remake. There was a movie before this in the 70s.
How's your tummy ache now? Oh, much better, thank you.
Oh. And I found that one and I quick scrubbed through it and I was like, oh wow, some of the costumes are better. The sets are way better in this one, but like Miss Birdface has like an actual beak in the original one. I'm like, oh, that would have been better than her weird prosthetic nose that they couldn't match the color to or whatever.
How did you know that?
I sensed it. Exactly.
Like it didn't look intentional that it looked bad. Like you could argue, oh, it's supposed to be a beak, so the color changes. But I'm like, I just think that's the light hitting your bad prosthetic.
No, I'm not sure exactly what they're going for at all those points. And yeah, it's like a book series or something too. So this is like a Lemony Snicket or something where it keeps getting things made or whatever, right?
There are cartoons of this.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like the depth and like the good things and the consistency of this world and stuff is probably because it was developed over the course of like children's books over time. And you're like, oh, okay, we have a world here. 99
was probably the last moment this could have been made and it being good though, because if they made this now, it would just be all CG. Thered be no sets. It would be, it's green screens and bullshit. And look at all this bad crap. The practical effects in this are what make it so amazing. And like the costuming, probably the worst part, like in terms of how like their good things are, like the slime people are cool.
Relax.
But like you can see that like they're dealing with a level of star Gary Busey, who's like, put the makeup on. Okay, never do that again. Because in like one scene, he's actually wearing the makeup.
You want to see your mommy and daddy?
And it's like less makeup than
it bugs me.
It's no makeup. And he's like, I don't even wear the mask anymore. What are you
he just puts just lipstick on. He's like, oh, that's fine. I'm wearing a mask anyway. What are you doing?
But he was good in this. I didn't feel like a lot of things he feels like he's phoning it in, especially like, you know, after the 80s. But it felt like I was like, oh, all right. I'm like, and it wasn't like his kids were young at this point. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe Jake had kids at this point and he was making a movie. Jake is his son. And he was trying to make it for them. Because it seemed like he had something invested in this that has kind of a moral that at the end of the day, which is nice. It's always good to have a kids show or a kids movie that at the end of the day is not just like, what did you make this for? Like, it does seem like you'd walk out like, oh, I learned a little something. Like I don't have to stutter. I can say myself clearly and project and people will take me seriously. And I always have a friend and this and that. And, you know, people aren't always scary. Everybody's this and that, you know, it was pretty nice.
Yeah, he was cute in it. He had that scene near the end where he like opened up and they had that thing, and it was good because he admitted that he was a good person and all this other stuff. And the little boy Jacob, he didn't judge him. He always said, "I think you're a good person," so regardless. So I thought it was really sweet, but it's filled with adventure and like this fantasy mystic sort of like swirl. So it's kind of good. It's like, you have to get lost in it and you have to commit to it to love it.
Okay, I like sunshine. I'm a mean guy with a yo-yo and a tan. Why should that change anything?
In it, it's like weird, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really good. Like in the Fog Machine, I love those kids that talk with those really croaky voices.
My name's Ben.
Yeah, it's not so bad. I'm Anna. Why do you guys talk like that?
Yes.
Don't worry, kid, it's not so bad.
I think they've got a fog in their throat.
Yeah, no, there's a really good arc to Gary Busey, and he's actually acting like you're saying, which is really important, right? And there's a lot of things that happen when he like fakes the phone call and stuff.
He'll probably be staying here for the next few years. That okay with you? It is?
Because I thought
Yes.
like, oh, I get it. I know what's happening. He's pulling him in the back because he's like, he's gonna do this obvious, like, you're supposed to scream, kid, all that garbage. But he adds there's enough uncertainty and like double weird things where by the end I was like, oh, okay. Like it feels real when he finally says like, I never had my own childhood. I was afraid if I was a clown, they wouldn't like me and whatever, and all this like dumb stuff that he's like concocted in this whole thing. So I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. That's great.
I may as well be a clown.
You could be a good clown. It makes people laugh.
Kind of scares me.
And it's all from him watching that TV spot where he was like, if they saw my real face, their brains would melt.
My real face, their brains would melt.
And all those things, right? It's like, it's awesome.
That kind of thing, though, as a 6-year-old child, you saw the cover of a VHS tape or you saw a commercial and you built a whole world as to what something was, having never seen it. And I was like, yeah, well, that seems real. I didn't particularly care for the character of Jacob Tutu. I think he is a down point for me. But when I'm going to hate on a 6-year-old kid, I'm like, he did the best he could.
Agent XG47 was supposed to lead them here. Now Mr. Fish has got it.
But no, like that's a part of the existential dread of the first 20 minutes of this movie. Because I was like, oh no, like they even say like I'm 6 years old, and I'm like, oh god, this kid is really young. What is he gonna have to do for this movie? He's not gonna be able to do it. He's like too young to act. But then you see other kids later, his like prison buddies, where I'm like, no, these are like bad actor kids.
I'll be your friend. I'm Shelly. This is my brother Oscar. He's allergic. Have you got chocolate?
Jacob's actually like fine. Jacob's not that bad at all. He's doing what he's doing. It's like, not that annoying. Yeah.
I think had I seen this as a kid, this would have been awesome and it would have been one of those real nostalgic movies for me. And not this like, oh, you watched this in your like early 20s, like on repeat kind of a movie.
Curiosity thing. This torture device. Yeah.
No, it is good. Like, and that one of the best parts, I liked it when he went to court and Ice-T was in court.
I object, Your Honor. Object. Object to what? Are you objecting to me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Doing that whole rap with his wig on and the jury were like a gospel. It was cool.
Little sucker doesn't even know the reason why. G-U-I-L-T-Y. Guilty.
I loved it. I thought it was so funny.
When the jury kicks in, and no, really, the part where it sets it off is when that one guy starts beatboxing.
If he's let go, no grown-up will be safe.
And you're like, all right, what is this? And then the jury starts going along. You're like, okay, this is a real thing. But when he's first just doing his sentencing and like they call him the singing judge, but he's really more of like the poet judge. He's not much of a singer. Like just how he reads almost like a Dr. Seussian, like that drawl.
I can only reach one verdict, which ipso facto is as follows.
And like how he hits punches and certain rhymes are like, I didn't think that was the word you were going to say. I thought it was going to be a rhyming word. Like you just said like, and face. Like it was like this weird, like, okay.
Yeah.
But when he sentenced him to like 2 years, 2 days, 2 months, 2 hours, and 5 seconds. I was like, all right.
And it goes like, mix a little thing. And you're like, oh, that's great. No, yeah, the rap is like different types of rap. It like kicks in and it's like Blues Brothers. It like gets going. There's backup singers like you're talking about, like the jury's doing stuff too. Yeah. It's like, I wrote it down. He's a bad little boy, but he keeps saying it. He's a bad little boy.
He's a bad little boy. He's a bad little boy. Is this a bad little boy? Oh, he's a bad little boy.
He's a bad little boy. Keeps like going in, but he's like holding the kid at that point, like moving around. I'm like, this is so extra. This is so much.
When he says squeegee Luigi and the guy's like,
Squeegee Luigi. Thank you, my good man.
I like, do you ever just clap when something happens? I was like, yes, that's great.
That was my favorite part. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot that happened. I can just even picture it now. I want to have that line in a movie. I want Scott to write me that line so I can sit there one day and just say squeegee Luigi in summer. That's amazing. I loved it.
It has just little attention to detail moments that are like, oh, okay, that's what makes this movie.
Yeah.
And there's a guy named Luigi at the tomato shop.
Exactly. Another callback.
Luigi, 2 firm red tomatoes.
Yeah, it's a market. It's a direct opposite to that song that Gary Busey has, though, where it feels like all songs in a movie are obviously tracked somewhere else, and then they play them live and they sing along with them there. But that one felt like they sang it there, because I'm like, that person's not on the rhythm.
A twit, a cheat, a dirty whining, sniffling, lying, snot-nosed, evil, bug-eyed little freak. Oh, yeah.
What is happening? How did you record this before? I don't know. Like the guy, Fishman, is like saying his lines
the
weird.
Hooded Fang.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Yeah, it had a weird, like, I forget the band name. There's a band that sounded like that from like the 80s or whatever.
What, the Mastodon Farm style? Like,
no. It's the B-52s, I think. Yeah, that kind.
Oh, okay. I can see
the
that.
Hooded
Actually.
Fang. It was like that sort of thing. Kind of weird vibe. And then Slimer's playing bass and stuff. I'm like, all right. Yeah, it was funky.
The Hooded Fang.
Yeah.
No, I think it's good. It's like, their characters are really cute all the way through. You know, when that the lady, she's singing about Gary Busey and how much she's in love with him, and she sounds like a little chicken or whatever.
Yeah, she's like,
He is beastly. He is bold.
Yeah, and
Not
like
that easy to do. I don't think. I think I would find it difficult to do that. I think she.
Oh, you would
okay.
nail it, Chrissy. I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean,
I was naked.
I can only act if I'm naked. No, like I looked her up because I thought like she looked familiar, but I didn't see her in a lot. But she was in a bunch of things. Like she's a real actress. And,
I've seen her before.
Yeah, I don't know if she's singing, but this song I thought was really good. There's a line like blah blah blah. They say he's a rat, but I know he's much worse than that.
With the morals of a rat. But I know deep inside he's much, much worse than that.
Like it's this little like flips around, so it has like a Broadway vibe where they're rhyming long sentences together and stuff. I was like, this is interesting. This is cool. And and meanwhile he's in in the ring wrestling himself and like pounding on the ground like a little kid.
Oh yeah, he's practicing.
He's like psyching himself up. Yeah.
He was cute during that when he's just like laid on his belly kicking about and she's so in love with him. Oh, that's so sweet.
His brother and sister play these like superhero-esque like almost like
child
spy
power
kids.
masters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Judge, singing days are over unless you cooperate.
They come in on their skateboards and save the day, much like they did in the real life when the bullies were coming after his cape. They swooped in, took his hat, and they have the skateboard. So you get that bit. The sister is the only person I really recognized from the movie aside from our like main stars. That's Allison Pill. She was in Scott Pilgrim, but she had a bigger role in Goon. She's like the love interest. And she's been in a lot of kids things. Like her face stayed the same her whole life. So you're like, yes, I know who you are. Like some kids are like, you're unrecognizable. I looked up the main kid. I was like, let's see what he looks like. I've not seen him in anything.
Yeah, that turned him off acting probably.
Well, he's also like still super young. He's like 25 or something now. Like, it's
right.
He was so young in this. No, he's probably more like closer to 30, but he has a childlike face.
Yeah.
No, once you've done something like Jacob Tutu, there's no point in.
Well, it's the top of your career.
You've mastered the craft. You can move on to something else. You can become a blacksmith or something at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a 70s A-list actor and a 90s A-list rapper. Where are you going?
There's nowhere else to go. Up, you just go down from there. Punch out. Yeah.
Yeah, like he would have loved that. As being that young, he either didn't know what was going on or he really loved it. And he still talks about it to this day, when he's out having drinks with his friends. He's like, gosh, I was Jacob Tutu.
That would be my claim to fame.
Massive PTSD to this day. Can't sleep through the night. Wakes up screaming.
And it's not like many of your kids things, like, in a world where like they have a special item or a power or anything. He's just a kid using, like his little mind to get him through these problems, like stopping up the fog machine. Cause
we have to block the fog fight. Go. Don't be afraid. We can do it.
He realizes that the sun hurts them. And if the fog builds up, the sun will shine through. That was cool.
He manages to lead a worker uprising and like overthrow the people. Like, I was like, okay.
Yeah,
that's
you got to
awesome.
have a little children's like suspension of disbelief that these slime, guards just wouldn't do anything, because we see them pretty promptly take care of and dispatch a runaway child slave early on in the show, and like they cocoon you in like a green goo ball.
Is that the turning point? Because that was the turning point for me when it got like real, where it's like, oh no, it's not just like he's gonna get you, like they can get you, and you can get put into like a weird killer clown's like cocoon thing.
That was what I was thinking.
You see his face in there, like no, and stuff.
A remake of this now, if you made it dark and like a hard R, violent, gore-filled, like a Turbo Kid version of this, I think would do really well. It's just a fun name, Jacob Tutu and the Hooded Fang. Like I've said it many times. I have a couple of copies of the DVD for the different covers that came out because I'm a sick person.
We did well, so we didn't even talk about him like repeating himself, his where he gets his name from.
Yes.
Because he doesn't even do that all the time. And I think hearing the pitch for the movie, I'm like, well, that's dumb. Everything he says twice, but he's not always doing it. It's just like something that that he does sometimes.
It's only to adults, it seems.
Yeah, it's just like, well, like they explain it more in the film, but I think like if you read the back of the box or something, it's like Jacob, who says everything twice, gets kidnapped by Gary Busey and taken to a slime plant, and like, oh god, like, what
he's got two arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, and has to say everything twice because nobody listens to it.
I'm not a baby. You said I'm 2 + 2 + 2 years old.
2 + 2, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's gonna get old really fast, but no, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was done really well, and like you were saying, it's the fact that if it was done today, it would have a whole different vibe. It's because it feels like a classic because it was done in the way it was, kind of Wizard of Ozzy, and I loved that. Great message, really good adventure. It was just the beginning bit where I was like, what is going on? I can't be arsed in this house of screaming kids. It made me want like Prosecco in the morning also. I was like, oh, I can't do this. Then it got good.
To like get to the good part.
Once it kicks over, the good lines start. Like when he's explaining to his lawyer, he's like, I poured the milk. I can't even pour the milk because I got a drinking problem. I see.
I spill my milk.
Aha! A drinking problem. Well, I don't see anything like that on the paper.
Yeah. I'm like, all right. Like the good lines start rolling. Those sets. Like I can't mention enough how much I love these sets. Practical sets are like my thing. And there's so many in this movie. You're like, oh, there's that and this and this. They build these things. It's like giant warehouses.
Castle, right? Yeah. And
well, yes, and that's probably a miniature, but it's a nice looking smoke-filled miniature.
Yes. I mean, even like the interiors, they're in this big castle with like the main hall and the other stuff, right? The courtroom alone, which like doesn't come back. Like I mean, like part of me was like, well, you got IC. You're gonna like have like a thing at the end where it's like, and all the kids are free, and I do another rap or something, but like it's only for that one little 5-minute section.
They could only afford him for that one little 5-second minute,
which makes sense exactly.
When the kids beat up the police, I'm like, oh, this is sending a message.
I know, right? Gosh.
If you want to go in that direction, it's actually really cool that like the judge is like, well, no one knows where Slimer Island is or something like that. Where he's just calling everybody guilty and just say that's what reminded me of Alice in Wonderland was how everyone's like treating the queen in that movie because the guy's like, oh, he raps, pretend you like it or something like that. Like, oh, like everyone's like afraid of the judge and he's sentencing people kind of like off with their heads, just like sending them all away. And like he doesn't even know what happens to them. Like this system is broken.
Well, it's timely though, because that's appropriate now. Yes. We send people to prison for free labor, and they were doing that then, and it teaches you as a young child that that's going to happen to you,
just to prepare you. So you know what to expect as an adult. While they are doing hard labor under threat of death, they sing a very quick song about how the conditions here are so bad that they might as well be grown-ups.
We have so little fun here that we might as well be all alone.
Work harder.
Or something like that, because they have no fun anymore.
Another life lesson to teach you to have fun while you're young.
I know. I like it a lot.
It does. It's filled of loads of good messages, really obvious ones and then underlying ones. And that's why it's great. That's why adults like to watch it too. It's a good movie. It's fun, isn't it? And like when little Jacob was like locked in his little prison and he missed home and he sang that little song, I was like, oh, bless him. I wanted to give him a cuddle.
It was hard sometimes, but it was home to me.
Those prison cells are so interesting because you go downstairs to get into them. So I'm like, this is not a set that was already somewhere. Like usually when you're in a prison or a jail cell, they can go somewhere and use those. Yeah. But I'm like, that does not exist. You definitely built that. And that's so much more impressive. It's more impressive than feeding the cat, which is how Jacob gets to go get those tomatoes in the first place. How old do you think you'd have to be before your parents would ever send you down the street or blocks away to get tomatoes? 6 seems a bit young.
Yeah, it's far too young.
Like parents in the 90s were like, you cannot leave the house. You'll be set on fire by gang members. And it's like, we live in suburbia, Mom. I think it's fine. She's like, no. So like, yeah, maybe back in Jacob's day, things were different, but 6 seems too young. Yeah.
6 seems pretty young.
It is young, even in any day. Like, I don't think, like, when I was young, like, I could go out and play by myself, my friends, but at 6, my mum wouldn't be like, here, go to the grocery store and get all this stuff. Like,
they weren't giving you tomato money when you were 6 years old.
No.
You go straight to the store. No detours. Jacob, bring back the change. No candy.
Yeah, please.
One of the things that I always lock in on is the dad gives him the $5. He goes, and I want the change. And the first thing the kid does is go, keep the change. I'm like this little bastard. And the dad even goes,
and for you, keep the change.
That's right. Nobody ever said that to me before. Keep the change.
Because like they're all there at that point. Like they know their son's been knocked unconscious. The parents have come. Everyone's there. They're celebrating his return to the life.
And you were there. And you were there. And you were there.
Yeah.
It's the whole cast is crowded around for him to wake up. Yeah, it's very good.
No, this is a perfect movie. I think we all agree.
I'm liking it more the more we talk about it, honestly. Usually during one of these chats, I hate the movie more and more as we go along. But the opposite thing is happening here where I'm liking it more and more.
Yeah, you usually hate it. Like by now you're like, no, it's this, it's that. And then you're like, oh, this is a really good movie. And that warms my heart, Lee.
Yeah,
See,
it's like you've convinced me. I started out liking it a good amount, but now I'm like, now I really like it.
I think if you're not sold, just remembering like there's a scene where Gary Busey is singing, and there's a whole full of children that are deadpan, not reacting at all.
Never read no Jack and Jill. My mother was a witch and my father came from hell.
And this to me is amazing because I need to know A, what was the screen direction for these kids? And like B, how did they accomplish that? Because it's such a young group of kids that you'd expect at least somebody would be like, oh, I'm looking over here, or I'm picking my nose, or I'm talking or something. But they're all just for his whole song. It's so funny. I want to like cut to that after like, I don't know, like a presidential announcement just because the kids.
It's a good reaction. It hops between different kids, which adds to the absurdity because he's like, Jacob, why are you not screaming?
You're new here, aren't you? Let me explain something to you, you little snot. When I point at you, you scream. You got that? Let me hear you.
And it's like no one cares at all. They're just like you're working me to death. I hate it here. There's slime people. Just shut up. Just let me get back to my meal. Yeah, exactly. I have no respect for you, Mr. Fang.
I love it. It's brilliant, that bit. Like it's that one close up of this one kid that couldn't look more miserable. Like it's just ace.
Welcome to Slimer's Island.
He's just sitting there like he just wants it all to end. Bless him.
I've had enough.
And Gary Busey has a nice turnaround here where he starts off, he's the wrestler on TV. Then through imagination, he is like, this prison, keeper, slaver. Then by the end, it's like, I have a yo-yo. I like getting a suntan. I've got a dog. And
I like you too, Jacob. You're my friend too.
He's a clown on the side of a bus.
Jacob Tutu, he remained.
Which I don't think is him. I think that's totally not actually Gary Busey. It just looks like a random guy in clown makeup.
Is it like Fango the Clown? It's like
Yeah, it was
same,
something.
right?
Yeah, something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cute. Like, and he had cute moments. So even though like he was being mean all the way through it, he was cute and he gave him that chocolate bar. So it was nice. There was loads of like evil bits mixed in with nice bits. So it was all right. I should have let my kids watch it. I don't know why I didn't. I just watched it and I told them to just go sit in the room whilst I was watching it and not to disturb me.
You kids, go get me some tomatoes. I'm watching a movie.
Exactly. This is not for you. This is for mommy for work.
Yeah.
Like, what? She's watching. What are you doing?
I would be curious to see what kids today would think of that movie. Because, like, it's definitely not your common movie. Like, I feel like if you show kids now, like, oh, here, watch, like, The Wizard of Oz, something that's, like, a classic for, like, 100 years. They're like, it's a little slow. And I'm like, that's insulting. But it's a different demographic now. And I understand that. There's not a baby shark singing. So, you know, well, what can I expect?
They won't get past the black and white part. They'll be like, it sucks.
I think black and white stuff is interesting.
Yeah. The kids would have liked it. Ruby's like older, but like Junior, he kept seeing bits of it. And whenever he came in, I kept telling him to get out. So he was like, no.
You're going to have nightmares of Gary Busey if you stay in here. Get out of here.
Out every single time. But he probably would have loved it. I'll show him it now.
Yeah.
Now you go, get in here, sit down. You have to watch this.
Yeah. And then he won't want to now. He'll be like, no, I don't want to.
These are the shortest, ugliest angels I've ever seen.
There's just so many weird moments. It's so weird. The whole movie is just you either have to be a child or just have loads of rum or something and watch it. And then all of a sudden it stops being weird. It's ace then. It's really good. But I don't know whether I loved it or didn't. It was just, I can never forget it. It's just in my head now forever.
I've seen it more times than I can count, and each time I watch it, I'm like, "Oh yeah, this part." Like, it's something that doesn't like stay in my brain all the way.
No, it just kind of happens to you, and it leaves you changed afterward.
It does.
Yes,
it does. It does. It made me put all my clothes back on.
All right. So, what more could you say about Jacob Tutu after that?
Basically, I thought a really great film. At first, it was just I didn't know what was going on, so it had a slow start for me until I heard things like him having that singing commentary and stuff. When fun little bits happened, I woke up and I was like, oh, so excited. And then when he got knocked on the head, fair enough. From Fantasy World onwards, I was there. I loved it. It looked amazing. It was funny. Like, it was quirky and weird. Like, it was ace. And there's happy bits, sad bits, evil bits. There's something for everyone. And you see something different each time you watch it. I loved it. It was another hit. It's like 99 thumbs up.
I'm going to have to go deeper on the next one now.
Right? We have to find something that you will hate. No, it's a modern day like fairy tale, right? With interesting, messages and like modern content and it's surreal and interesting. I wish I'd watched it 20 years ago when I had the first opportunity to do so. But no, positive thumbs up from me.
All right, so thumbs up across the board. That's our thoughts on Jacob Tutu and the Hooded Fang. Again, Chrissy, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me at Chrissie Wunna on Insta, Twitter, and any form of social media ever.
Ever.
About.
TikTok?
TikTok, yeah. I think it's like, I'm at Chrissie Wunna too, because someone else is at Chrissie Wunna and at Chrissie Wunna 1.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, what? No. People are not going to find you now. You're going to find them.
So I'm at Chrissie Wunna 2 on TikTok.
It's a good thing you asked me, or else people wouldn't have known. They would have been following that other bastard.
Following somebody else. All the kids are on the TikTok now. You guys, TikTok.
Thanks so much for joining us. Until next time. All right, everybody. That's all. Fuck off.
I hope you enjoyed this review of a kids movie. Go fuck yourself.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to support the show, head over to cannibalvideo.com, pick up some merch.
And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's something.
Whatever.
Fuck these motherfuckers.
Take him out of here.
Cannibal Video has everything you need. A wide array of VHS and DVDs. We ate the competition, now it's only us. Our expert staff opinions you can really trust. Come and browse our